Hello, everyone. It is Mrs. Williams-Bey, and yes, I am taking over Rachel's social media all day today and tomorrow. And I'm just so excited to be here. And I thank you guys for allowing Rachel to just give her platform over to me. I'm just so excited to be able to share some tips with you ladies and to be able to just pour into you and even my black sisters that's watching. Thank you guys. Thank you guys so much for the support too, because I know you're going through it the same way I'm going through it. We're all going through it, right? But we're going to make this thing better, right? So, for some of you that are wondering or you're just tuning in, you're trying to figure out, like, who is this lady on Rachel's timeline? My name is Mrs. Cynthia Williams-Bey. I am an author, I am a speaker, and I am the CEO of Heaven Sent Child Care. It's a child care center here in Richmond, Virginia, where we provide child care services from 6 a.m. to 12 midnight. And we've been doing that for the past 15 years. And the pandemic and the national uproar and all this stuff that's happening has not stopped that. We've still been operating. Still been serving. We've still been doing everything that we need to do for our community and for our families. So I wanted to, talk to you guys and give you another tip, right? Now, I grew up in Brooklyn, New York. And as everyone know, Brooklyn is known as the city, or New York rather, the city that never sleeps. And everybody's like, Brooklyn's like, tough girls and things like that, right? And it is like that. I grew up and it was a tough neighborhood. And the saying is do or die. And it really is. It's like do or die. That's the slogan. And, just growing up and having to deal with so much, between crime, between just, and poverty and just us, as children, right? We fight and it's just a lot, right? And I just remember, you know, so many times, like as a child, having to run in the house or run up the street because they were shooting or, they were fighting and pulling out guns. Like, I literally saw like my first killing really at the age of 6. Like, just imagine like being outside on your steps as a child and you're having fun and it's 4th of July and there's fireworks going off and you're dancing with your cousin and the family's barbecuing, and all of a sudden, like, you see fireworks and you hear explosions, and as you're looking you're noticing that people are starting to run, and but still hearing explosions and you're thinking it's fireworks, but bodies start dropping, and that was my life. And that wasn't abnormal growing up in Brooklyn to see something like that. But it's abnormal for any child to have to experience that at the age of 6. And to make matters worse, like, my sister was a victim, right? She was a victim. She survived by the grace of God. However, that experience still plays in my head. It still plays in my head even as an adult, right? So it's like having to deal with that as a child, right? In the African American community, and then having to, grow up and to be an adult, and then still having to deal with those things. But now the people that we once used to trust to come and save us are essentially killing us, right? Like, that's what we're dealing with. That's what we're dealing with. So, it's a saying in Brooklyn, or not just in Brooklyn, but there's a saying like, that you don't snitch. You don't snitch. You don't talk. When you see something, you don't say nothing and things like that. But not in this time. Like, this is where the rules are off, and we need our Caucasian sisters to say something. Like, when things are being done behind closed doors, when you're seeing injustices, even if you're a police officer or anything like that, or people are saying things to you and you're seeing things that shouldn't take place, like, we need you to say something. Like, that's how you can be our ally, by speaking up when you see injustices, regardless of how anybody feels, regardless of the people that walk away. Because guess what? God, our Father of black, white, Asian, Hispanic, our Father, He hates injustice. And we have a duty as His children to speak up against those injustices. So that's how you could be our ally. When there's those inappropriate conversations, when you're sitting down and you're amongst your friends and your colleagues and they're making racial remarks, or they're making comments of the black girl in the office that has an attitude, when in reality they have no idea that she just pulled an all-nighter, she's working 2 jobs, she's trying to take care of kids, she's taking care of her sick grandmother. And guess what? Her fiance actually got murdered and slain by the police. So that's why she's single and having to do and work so much. Right? We need you to say something when you see things are being done to systemically hinder the black man and woman. Because it's happening. It's happening in corporate America. It's happening in education. It's happening in the jail systems. It's happening in the government. It's happening in the police. It's happening on a daily basis. Whether people accept it or not, it's happening. Look it up. So that's how you can be our ally. By making sure that you're speaking up and using your voice in your meetings, when you're with friends privately, because people can say whatever they want publicly, right? People do so much for the public eye, but we appreciate it, but we appreciate it more if you're doing it behind the scenes too, because we know there are people that have come out and said, oh, Black Lives Matter, but then on the back end, when they get in the back room, when they get in the boardrooms, when they get in legislation, when they get in the White House, they're saying something else behind closed doors about us. And they're allowing certain systems and regulations and policies to go forth that they know are not beneficial for all Americans, for all black people. Okay? So that's how you can actually be our ally. That's my tip number 2 for today. To make sure you say something. We need our white sisters to say something. We need you to speak up on our behalf. Because we're not invited in every room. We're not invited to every meeting. We need you to speak up. Okay? So thank you guys. And stay tuned for the next tip.